Don't be out there showing weakness, because then they'll take your weakness, and they'll use it against you. The saying, if you're too kind of a person, they'll take your kindness for weakness, right? So you couldn't cry, you couldn't really show any kind of emotion, right? You just had to be this straight, solid, strong, unmovable force all the time. And it's one thing to practice that, right? And we should practice that as men to a degree. But we should also realize and understand that our strength doesn't come from within. Our strength comes from Him. But we'll walk around like we don't need no help. You know what I'm saying? Back in my day, if you had some kind of mental issues or emotional issues or psychological issues, they weren't talked about, right? You didn't talk about them. You didn't bring them up. And a lot of times they went unchecked. They just became worse and worse. And there was no outlet. There was nowhere that we could take our hurt and our pain and our emotional stress and our psychological issues and talk to someone about, because it wasn't manly to go to the shrink, or I don't know if they call them that in today's time. Y'all forgive me if I'm politically incorrect, but there was no place for men to go back in the day to talk to somebody, right? That wasn't something that men did. That was something that women did or children did. And to our detriment, all the while we're thinking that we're being strong. All the while we're thinking that we're, I don't need to go talk to nobody. I'm good, right? I'm okay. And if we did go talk to somebody, most of the time it was somebody that couldn't help us. Why? Because they had their own mental stresses. They had their own emotional hangups. They had their own psychological situations going on. And all they were doing was passing on what they thought was good info and what they thought was helpful, right? But they were just passing on the stuff that they already had and they were dealing with on the inside. And so for a lot of years, this was something that men did not do. They did not seek outside help for inside issues and situations, right? But this is what we would equate to being strong. This is what we would say equals strength when it comes to men.